Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev, and this week we are watching All the President's Men. This movie came out in 1976. It is a biographical, political thriller, drama, whatever you want to call it like that. It is based on the 1974 nonfiction book by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward about their time as reporters at the Washington Post investigating the Watergate scandal, which eventually led to the resignation of then President Richard Nixon. So the movie it stars Dustin Hoffman as Carl Bernstein and Robert Redford as Bob Woodward. Sorry. Looking at all their names in one place was kind of weird for a second there. This movie starts with Richard Nixon coming to give his State of the Union address. And then immediately cuts to the five people breaking into the Watergate building, specifically the Democratic National Headquarters. At which point these five people, four Cubans, and another man, James McCord, are arrested for breaking into the Democratic National Headquarters. They're found with several different things and mainly recording devices, and charged. Woodward, Robert Redford's character, is put on by the Washington Post. He's told to go down to court as just, hey, this is a little thing, you're going to go cover this. Five guys are going to, they broke into the Watergate building. We're going to go have you cover this. He's a new reporter, whatever. You're going to go do this. He ends up finding out that they have a high-level lawyer, a very high-level lawyer representing them, which nobody knew about in the first place. Expensive Miami lawyer coming in to represent them, which even the defense didn't know about because they already had assigned defense attorneys to cover them. And he finds out that McCord, when he comes into the room, identifies himself as a former CIA agent. And then this whole thing starts going, and he starts investigating what's going on. Hoffman's character, Carl Bernstein, gets put on the story as well, and they start working together, even though they don't seem to want to at first. They work well together, and they start working together to investigate. They start tracking down people, talking to people to find out what's going on. And they end up tying this whole case back to people in the White House. Members of President Nixon's staff, White House counsel Charles Colson at the time, along with others, a group that was the Committee to Re-elect the President, which was, running a fund to try and basically was running an undercover slush fund to try to it doesn't, that had just a bunch of money going everywhere is kind of what they uncover. There is Woodward keeps talking to this person, a high level official, who he refers to as Deep Throat, who he always meets in a garage. He eventually tells him to follow the money, which they do, which is where they find the committee to reelect the president and this slush fund. And they eventually tie it back to the White House Chief of Staff, former Attorney General, and get told that it's eventually, by being pushed by denials from the White House and White House staff and the administration and their editors, they end up, the Deep Throat, the person, what would you call him? The source ends up telling Woodward that they're in danger, possibly, and that this cover up involves all levels of the intelligence community, including the CIA and the FBI, and they could be in danger. Others could be in danger. And then the movie ends with Richard Nixon being inaugurated as they're writing up this whole story on them, and then different headlines about Watergate, and eventually Richard Nixon being kind of a montage of Richard Nixon being inaugurated and then resigning. So it's a very good movie. This is going to be a really short episode this week, I feel like, but it's a very good movie. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes, I think, long. 2 hours and 18 minutes long. But it moves along. It moves along really well. There's a lot that goes on. They keep kind of pushing it forward because there's always something going on. It's a lot of dialogue, and there's never anything super intense, but it is suspenseful because there's always like a feeling of tense emotions, even though there's nothing that's actually happening. Does that make sense? It is a very good movie. I think it is a very good movie. I do recommend watching it. It is, a big part of history of, our country, America, presidency, whatever. It is a big point in history in America. So you do have that. There was a couple of interesting facts I saw with this as well, that I thought were interesting. It wasn't actually until, hold on here. Frank Willis plays a security guard in the movie. He's the one who finds the masking tape on the door and calls police. He was actually a security guard in the Watergate. He's actually the one who called police whenever the Watergate scandal happened. He was fired shortly after, and this movie was the first time that he apparently worked after being fired. His first day of work after being fired from Watergate, which is interesting. The other thing that I found interesting in these little factoids on IMDb was that Redford and Hoffman, Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman, memorized each other's lines so that they could interrupt each other in character which made other actors kind of threw them off, which gave more authenticity when they were doing, speaking and things, when they were going back and forth, which is just kind of interesting. That just shows how much they, how much care and thought they put into this type of stuff, which is really interesting. The one thing I did find as well that was interesting about this is there is a catchphrase in this where Deep Throat keeps telling Redford to follow the money, which was not in the book. That was introduced in the movie. It's not in the book anywhere. It's not in any of the documentation from Watergate, but it is prevalent in the movie that he keeps saying follow them. He keeps telling Redford to follow the money. That's how he's gonna find out what is going on, or how he's gonna figure out what's going on. Eventually he gets mad and he tells him that he has to know what's going on and to stop playing games. But yeah, very good movie. Like I said, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes, but it's not, or 2 hours and 18 minutes, but it's not, it really goes through it quick. This does not go through the whole book. Like I said, it kind of cuts off at Nixon's second inauguration. But it's definitely worth a watch. It's a very good movie. Recommend it for anybody who is likes history, especially U.S. presidential history, anything like that. So I think that is it for this week, though, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Next week we are watching, or I am watching. Hopefully you guys will watch it too. Modern Times from 1936. So, an older one, going back a ways, 1930s. So, don't forget to watch that, like and subscribe this episode if you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys next week.